I feel like being a Black person in general, I feel like we have to work a lot harder.
Yeah.
I feel that way, especially as a Black woman in commercial. Commercial is a very male dominated industry. Residential is a little bit more relaxed. We see a lot of women in those spaces. I
Yep.
mean, sometimes you can still get the microaggressions, but not as much as you do in commercial. And I feel like it's always one of those things where we're having to prove ourselves. If I'm going on a listing appointment, or sometimes even when I'm going to show buyers and it's a company and the listing agent is some older person of a different race, and they're looking at me like, wow, you're young and you're a woman.
Welcome back, everybody. I am so excited for today's episode. I met this person about a month or so ago at the Keller Williams Commercial Real Estate Summit in Rainbow Camp. It is Destiny Williams. She's a realtor with Keller Williams who has quickly made her mark into the Texas real estate market. She's originally from Charlotte, North Carolina, and she relocated to Texas just over 2 years ago and has been licensed just for 2 years. But you're going to want to listen in on this conversation. She rapidly established herself as a strong performer in the industry. Destiny is passionate about advocacy for the LGBTQIA plus community and the empowerment of Black women, something that is so needed in this day and age. Destiny, welcome to the show. I'm so glad to have you here.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, so you've only been in the business for 2 years, and this is not an easy industry to get into, right? Especially the commercial side. And I know you do both residential and commercial. So maybe talk to us a little bit about your background and what path led you into real estate.
Yeah, so I went to college. I was going to be a pediatric neurosurgeon. So I was
Okay.
like, great, I'll be in school half my life. Cool, I'm all for this.
And it's
Um,
basically the same as real estate.
and just a little brain surgery, nothing
Yeah,
major.
right.
And so I got to my senior year of college and I was talking to my advisor, and her and I had built a really good bond. And she looked at me and said, Destiny, I don't know if you're doing this for you or if you're doing this for all the people you
Mm,
promised you would do it for.
mm,
And I was a first generation college student. So I had always told my mom, hey, I'm going to go to school. I'm going to be a doctor. I'm going to be rich. I'm going to take care of everybody.
yeah.
And every time she would ask me, why do you want to do it? I'm like, to be rich and take care of everybody. That's why.
Yeah.
And so I had offers from Wake Forest, like really big schools had already accepted me into the medical program. And I'm looking at her and I'm like, don't you see these acceptance letters? What do you mean I'm not
Yeah.
meant to do this? And I went home that night, I thought about it and I said, I know exactly what she means. If I do this, I'm going to be miserable. I
Yeah.
may be very well paid, but I won't be happy here.
Yes.
Um, and so I called my mom and I said, Mom, I'm graduating, but I won't be going to med school. And my mom was like super distraught. Oh my God, what are you going to do? I can't believe this. And I said, I don't know yet, but whatever I do, I'm still going to be destined to be great. It's just not this.
Yeah.
And after that, I got a really good job, or what I thought was a good job. I'm like, oh, I'm fresh out of college, got a career, and it was in biology. So I was still doing what I like to do.
Yeah.
And it just wasn't serving me, but COVID happened
Mm,
and I got laid off. And I felt like this resentment of like, how can someone come and tell me when they can take food off of my table? And
Make
how dare you? And after that, I said, no, I need to be an entrepreneur. Like, this is God's sign that this is not where I'm supposed to be. I ended up going to purchase my very first property. I now have seven. And I was like, that's it. Like, I'm doing this for me.
yeah.
And after that, I was like, it's been great purchasing properties. And I was buying them at auctions. So I didn't
Okay.
know anything about what I was doing, what I was getting myself into. I just knew I had the money and I needed to do something with it.
Yeah.
And after one really bad buy, I said, okay, I don't know everything that I think that I know. So let me try getting my license.
Yeah.
And I said, I came to Houston plenty of times and I loved it. And my first time visiting, I said I would move there. And I said, well, this is my time. If I move here and I hate it, I can always come home.
Right.
If I love it, then I'll stay and I'll build my legacy forever. So which one will it be? And my lease was about to be up on the property I was in. I literally had maybe 3 weeks, came
Mm.
out to Houston, stayed for a week with my mom, found a place, signed a lease, and I said, that's it, I'm here. And I went to real estate school and got my license.
Wow, that's incredible. I actually love that because my story is somewhat similar in that I had a career in the nonprofit sector
Yeah.
until I was like 35. And I was like, I was burnt out. I was tired. I wasn't making any money. And it's like one of those shifts where if I don't do it now, I'm never going to do it. So let's go for it. And I think that kind of tenacity and that ability to just jump, take that leap of faith is absolutely huge. So one of the things that we talked about is your passion for empowering Black women in this industry. What are some of the challenges that women of color face?
Wow. Well, I feel like being a Black person in general, I feel like we have to work a lot harder.
Yeah.
I feel that way, especially as a Black woman in commercial. Commercial is a very male dominated industry. Residential is a little bit more relaxed. We see a lot of women in those spaces. I
Yep.
mean, sometimes you can still get the microaggressions, but not as much as you do in commercial. And I feel like it's always one of those things where we're having to prove ourselves. If I'm going on a listing appointment, or sometimes even when I'm going to show buyers and it's a company and the listing agent is some older person of a different race, and they're looking at me like, wow, you're young and you're a woman and you're
Mhm.
also Black. How much do you actually know about this?
Right.
Actually, don't be fooled. And now I have to, and I feel like I have to always assert my dominance or
Yeah.
be this way and speak of my accolades in order to get that same respect that someone that could walk in that's of a different race and or gender can walk in and get it immediately because
Yeah.
they have the look of what
Right.
commercial. So I feel like it's a lot of that. And then also because of that, I feel like a lot of Black women don't want to come in these spaces because they're a little too nervous. They're like, who's going to train me? It's amazing, but if no one's there to guide you through it, then you're just out here with $1 million liabilities that
Yeah.
are in these commercial spaces with no guidance. And people aren't wanting to help you because they want to gatekeep instead.
Yeah.
When I came into the industry, I said, I want to hold the door open for every woman that wants to do this like me. I'm okay with having to fight for my space. I'm okay with fighting to create the space. But once I've created that space, it's for every Black woman after me so that they don't have to go through that anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. And what are some of the things that you find have worked when it comes to advocacy for other people? Like, do you have a team? How do you find the right people so that there is representation in the market?
Yeah. So the thing that I love about my office is when I Black woman in commercial, she's our number one commercial agent in our office, is a Black woman.
Mm.
So the moment that I saw her, it resonated with me.
Yeah.
And I said, I need to be beside her because she's like me and I'm like her.
Yeah.
And so that immediately stuck out to me. The way that she was so helpful. She's one of my mentors now. Her name is
Mhm.
Etha Eklund. And I said, I need to do this for everyone else as well. So a part of it was creating those spaces. I'm very open and educational when it comes to commercial and Black women in real estate as a whole. So being in groups and spaces, there's something called Black Women in Real Estate. And it's like a Facebook group, but there are about almost 200,000 of us in there.
Wow.
And being in those spaces and saying, hey, if you guys are interested in commercial, I don't care what state you're in, call
Mhm.
me. Here's my number. And I'll get calls daily, DMs daily. Hey, I
Yeah.
see you're killing it in commercial. How can I do it?
Yeah.
So a lot of it is really just being that advocate for someone else, being that person for them, being that resource to them, and being the source of the sources. So I pride myself in that. Within my office, I have started the conversation around having a Black Realtor network where we will have different events once a month where we're
Mhm.
doing different things in real
Yeah.
estate. So one will be working commercial, another
Yeah.
will be how we get into the luxury market, like just so many different sectors that aren't easily accessible to us, and just saying, hey, this isn't spoken about, let's talk about it.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think that support is so important, and having someone that's open to mentorship. And I'll let my listeners know, if you're in commercial real estate or you're new, we're here together on this podcast to share our knowledge, but we're here for you individually as well. We want to see you succeed. And I think the same goes for the Hispanic folks that do not have representation here in Colorado. It's so low representation, and we've got to seek out, right? And I think got to seek out those supportive spaces because it is that much harder. And for me, as a brown person myself, being in that male, straight, cisgendered male world, you do have to work a little bit harder to prove yourself. And I think it's even more difficult for Black women. And I think it is important for there to be that support and that community that keeps encouraging you, because this is a tough job to do, period. And so I love that you're creating space for that. And so what would you say to like newbies in commercial real estate, somebody who's thinking about getting into commercial brokerage or even just real estate in general? There's a steep learning curve.
Oh my
And
God.
so
Yes.
maybe share your experience and any advice that you would have for people looking to get into the space.
Yeah. So when I got into real estate, I told myself, this is it. I have no other option. There's no
Mhm.
plan B. I'm not
Yeah.
going to go get a part-time job. I'm not finding it has to work.
Yeah.
Plan B is to go back to plan A and edit it if plan A doesn't work.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
feel come in with that mindset of this has to work. So I'm putting every living moment into this. You have no choice but to succeed. Because if you look around you, what we do is difficult,
Yeah.
but also there aren't many of us that do it well. There's a lot of us that do it, a lot of people that have the license, but there aren't many of us that do it. And if you really learn to perfect your craft and you do it well, your business will repay you
Yeah.
always
Yeah.
because you'll stand out immediately.
Yeah.
Another thing for me as a new agent, I would say be bold, be brave. Like walk in those rooms that you think you don't belong in,
Yeah.
walk in with your head up, but walk in ready to learn. Be teach.
Mhm.
I was walking
Yeah.
up to top producers in the office and I'm like, hey, I saw you on the top producer list. How'd you get there?
Yeah.
What did you do? Can
Yeah.
I be an advocate to you? Can I do an open house for you? Can I do showings for you? How can I help you? Because helping you will help me.
Yes.
And believe it or not, my very first few deals in my office were just that, were top producing agents who were already like at their wits' end, didn't have a team, had no leverage, and were like, hey, I have this lead and this lead. And I was like, I don't care if it's an hour drive away. I'm taking it, send it to me. I got it.
Yeah.
And because of how I showed up, it created more opportunities for me because there was a certain level of respect that they saw, wow, this girl really wants to make it. And I'm like, I
Yeah.
absolutely do.
Yeah.
Just believe in yourself and just keep going. It took me about 4 months to get my first deal, which I thought was long, but then I've heard other people's stories and I'm like, wait a
Oh.
minute.
Yeah. But I think
Honestly,
it is that energy that you bring to the room, right? That even if you don't know everything, you mentioned being teachable, which I love, but it's not just sitting in classes, right? It's being around people, it's listening on conversations, it's podcasts, it's self-development because someone told me if you want God to work in your life, get into real estate. And
correct.
there's so much ego in this industry.
Oh my
And
God.
you've got to learn how to develop yourself and how you react and respond and show up in rooms with confidence, not cockiness, but the
Right.
ability to walk in and say, maybe I don't know this, but I can find out. And I think that's what clients really like is that you're not just acting like you've hung the moon. You're coming in and you're like, I know I got this, and what I don't got, I can figure out. And I think that's so huge. So maybe what were some of your early wins and lessons learned getting into this?
Exactly. I will say early wins was that I did my first year, I did about almost 50 transactions.
Wow.
Majority of them were leases. So for me, what I did was I found a niche that no one else wanted to touch. I believed in going to the crumbs. I believed in going to what everyone else wanted to pass up because they were too busy. The commission wasn't high enough. And I built my business based off of that.
Yeah.
So I was working a lot with affordable housing in Section 8 and lower incomes. And these were the people that they didn't even know that realtors would
Yeah.
even assist them. And here I am saying, no, I want you, let me help you. And so that was a win for me. My very first $500,000 transaction came from a $1,500 lease.
Wow.
And it was a lady that reached out to me and said, hey, I've called 6 realtors. I've asked to see their properties. None of them picked up the phone for me. None of them took me seriously. And we were doing a showing for $1,350 a month. And
Wow.
we were having a conversation, and she said the magic words like, I've been wanting to buy, but, and mind you, she's an immigrant. So I don't really know much about buying. No one in my family's ever purchased. I want to buy, just don't know where to start. And I was like, okay, great. And I just walked her through it, educated
Mhm.
her. Next thing you know, we went to a new construction. She went under contract for a $500,000 property. And that was my first $500,000 deal. So
Wow.
it was just being humble enough to say, I'm willing to help anyone that needs the help.
Yes.
But in that same sense, the caveat to that is my biggest lesson was to learn how to value myself and my time enough to know when to say no because I came from such a space of I want to help everyone. I want
Yes.
to help you if you need the help. I want to help you if you need the help. I want to help you. I'm here. And it got to be so much that I was overwhelmed and burnt out within my first 6 months of being in true production
Yeah.
because I'm killing myself. I'm not giving myself hours. I'm taking no days off. And I realized if I keep doing this to myself, I'm not even servicing my clients at the highest
Right.
degree because I'm not even 100% myself.
Absolutely. No, I think that guarding your time and having the wisdom.
And that was the biggest lesson that I learned very quickly. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I love that. Because I think you've got to guide your time and your reputation. and you do want to help everybody, but then understanding where is that boundary that it's okay, this maybe needs to be passed off to somebody else. Not that you don't want to help, and I do consultations for the Small Business Development Corporation here in Colorado. And there's sometimes that people just aren't ready, or, but it's like to be able to point them in the right direction. But I think it's what you said earlier is being the source of the sources. That is huge. You can't just be like tunnel vision where you are like, okay, I just got to do deals. I've just got to do deals. You've got all these referral partners around you that if you know how important title work is and reading that stuff and being able to educate yourself and your client, contractors, all these different factors that will affect your client, you have to be that source of sources. I love that. What are some mistakes that you think someone looking to get into this should avoid in the first year?
As crazy as it sounds, of course, we are in this industry and we know that we're commission based, but don't be commission driven.
Mm,
Never look at it for what is the check that I'm getting. Now, I would be a liar to say to y'all, when I'm looking at, like, if we're looking at some properties with my client, I'm going to do my little calculations. I want to know what it's worth. However, that doesn't drive how I serve my clients. You
yes,
can be
that's
a
it.
$950 lease, you could be a multi-million dollar transaction. Either way, you're
Yes.
getting the same white glove service from me regardless. And if you treat all of your clients like that, you'd be surprised at how many doors it will open for you, because some of my same clients that just a year ago were on Section 8 are now reaching out saying, "Hey,
Mm,
I got a really good job. I got pre-approved for 700,000. Can you help me find a house?"
yes.
Because I was there and I didn't treat them like, "Oh, you're Section 8, whatever." It was like, "No, I want to help you. Let me educate you. Let me guide you."
Yes.
When you come from contribution instead of commission, it
Mm.
changes everything for your career. So,
Well,
yeah,
I've got chills. This is, you're saying words of things that I believe, but you're giving voice to it. And it just
yeah.
absolutely just resounds with me so deeply. How do you think people can, it's hard to get traction, especially in commercial, but how can someone build confidence as before they start walking into rooms?
Listen, I have this saying that says, "I borrow an ounce of your confidence." So I'm a
Mm,
team leader. I have a team of 8 agents. I tell my agents, I don't care if you're brand new, some of them have been in the industry longer than me.
mm,
You need a dose of confidence, come to me and I will fill your cup of confidence. Take mine and walk in that room like you're me. Me do. If you attach yourself to people that truly believe in you and will water you, you borrow some of their confidence. I've walked in rooms and still to this day, there are rooms that I'm sometimes uncomfortable in. I'm like, I don't really know. I still see myself as the young Black girl and I'm not sure if I should be here. And then I say, you know what? Y'all don't know what I'm thinking. So I'm
mm,
still going to show up as me. I'm going to show up. And
mm,
all you can do is just that. So sometimes it's just reminding yourself that God will always place you where you should be. There's this little motto I say, I'm at the right place at the right time with the right people. And if
mm,
you lead with that, you'll always walk in any room confident because God placed you in
mm.
that room for a reason.
Absolutely. So we're going to touch on a topic that is a bit of a sore spot for me, at least in my market. And
Okay.
I love talking to people about things that I disagree with in having civil discourse. And I don't think that I'm going to disagree with you, but it's a challenge. And that is the concept of a resimercial. For
Mm,
those of you who don't know what a resimercial is, it is someone who does residential real estate and commercial. And my experiences have, for I would say 99% of the time, have been very negative in our market. But I would like to hear from you how working across residential and commercial can expand opportunities.
For me, I think it's always being that when I have a consultation with clients, I never talk about that one transaction only. I always talk about what's their long-term plan. And so also because I've been an investor already, I come in with a different sense of we're not talking about your first time home buying experience. We're talking about your wealth building journey. And what
Hmm.
does it look like to build that wealth with you and help you get that? That also means diversifying your portfolio. So we may be talking about a $200,000 new construction home right now, but in 5 years, what does it look like to have taken equity out? And now we're talking about commercial. What if
Mm,
we're talking about a 10 unit complex now? What if we're
yeah.
having these larger conversations? And so for me, it allows me to be able to be on both angles and still assist my clients and guide them correctly.
Yeah.
And I've had clients that have came to me as commercial and they went residential because I've said, hey, Commercially, this doesn't make sense. And I see all of these red flags from my experience in commercial. However, if you apply this to residential, I can get you a deal. Or
Yeah.
vice versa. You're looking for this return in residential that you won't see, but in commercial, you will. So
Yeah.
let me guide you this way. And
Yeah.
so for me, it's just about making sure that I'm finding out which way my client truly needs to go and then using my expertise from either field to determine which will be their best
Mm.
options. Sometimes they don't know. They've been
Right.
on TikTok all day. Their cousin's friend that bought 17 years ago is telling them one thing, and sometimes
Yeah.
they just don't know.
Yeah. So, how would you advise a residential agent that's looking to do both or transition into commercial? How would you help what advice would you give them to bridge the gap between the two? Because it's the same license, but it's
Yeah.
two completely different practices.
Absolutely. I would say before you jump right in, there's a few things you're going to want to do. One is you're going to want to get your classes, get your education, depending on what association you're attached to and whatever prospective state and market you're in. Find out what classes they're offering and make sure that you're having those conversations and you're in those classes, taking those exams. Of course, if you have your license, you can practice both, but you're going to want to have that education under your belt. You're going to want to know our terminology, our language is different. I can have a 5-second conversation with someone and tell that they know nothing about commercial
Yes.
just by some of the terminology that they use.
Yes.
And so a lot of that is that. Another part of it is I believe in mentorship. I'm big in mentorship.
Yeah.
Find someone that looks like where you want to be in your commercial career.
Mm.
Find them, attach yourself to them, and I'm telling you, I have two commercial mentors, but really one, and I follow my commercial mentor around.
Mhm.
I am like, what are you doing? You're going on showings? I want to come too. Oh my
Mhm.
gosh, you're negotiating a contract? I'm sitting in the room. I
Yeah.
want to be there at everything that you're doing because I want to be just like you.
Yeah.
How do I be just like you? I have to study you, just like I would study a test. So if you do those things, it will definitely help you. It's still
Yeah.
never going to be easy. And
Yeah.
it's just like sitting for the exam, right? We take the exam, but your true experience comes in
Yes.
those transactions. But if
Yes.
you have that guidance, you will save yourself money,
Mhm.
loss, liability.
Yeah.
And also, you'll appreciate it in the end because you're like, wow, I really was getting that guidance the entire time. So be easy on yourself, take it easy, go
Yeah.
at your own pace, but definitely start there.
Yeah. And again, I'm going to offer to our listeners, reach out to Destiny, reach out to me. We can do that for you. We want to do that for you because we want to see people succeed. And just speaking on Resumercial, I just got a letter of intent like 30 minutes before we jumped on a call. It was sent
Yeah.
to me via text because this agent said they didn't have my email address. And they didn't even take the time and effort to text me and say, what's your email address? Or I'm like, it's Google. You can go to my website, you can find it. And I open up the LOI and I'm like, the property address is not even listed, the suite number, their square footage, the price per square foot was not. They asked for the landlord to pay for their client signage. Now keep in mind this is a property we have three other offers on.
Oh God.
So this has been my experience. And the thing that I think also to help bridge the gap that I found recently is finding the right company, right?
Ooh.
I have been independent for the last 5 years. And so I was doing the thing, I was successful. 2023 came and interest rates went up and things got hard. And you get into that depression, you're like, all the weight was on me.
Yeah.
And there were several companies like that, I'm not going to name them all, that came to me and they were like, we want you to head up our commercial division in Colorado.
Yeah.
And I interviewed, and you've got to find people that are like minded and have similar values.
Yeah.
And I said no to three other companies before I took the leap 2 months ago and joined Keller Williams. And can I tell you, like, I am not lying when I say to you, because my thing is, I don't want to be corporate. I don't want
Right.
to be like all the other companies.
Correct.
But Keller Williams gave me the opportunity to bring my brand and who I am fully,
Yeah.
right? And valued it. And the training that you were talking about, the classes, the resources, there's more than I know what to do with. I decline way more than that I say yes to, partially
Right.
because I've been doing this for over 10 years, but also what it brought and coming to the summit and going to Rainbow Camp, meeting you. We're having this conversation because I joined the right company.
Yes.
And everybody has something to say about whatever company, the goods, the bads, but it's aligning yourself with the right office and the right
Yes.
team. And I know when I'm feeling frustrated, that
Yes.
I can text my team that I work for, and like I get that encouragement. I get, what can we do to support you? They even are going to probably start
Yes.
sponsoring this podcast in the future. So there's so much value to pushing yourself outside your comfort zone. Yes, I knew what I was doing. Yes, this and that, but I didn't have the right energy around me.
Yeah.
And now I have an office of over 80 agents that I can build relationships with. And
Yes.
I just met with another office that don't have anybody commercial that they reference. And I went to their office here in my town and they were like, "Oh my gosh, we need someone like you. Can you please come speak to our 50 agents?" It's gone from this year being one of the worst financial years to within 2 months of putting the work in and the effort and networking, helping and supporting people. For the first 9 months of this year, I've only sold two commercial properties.
Yeah.
Since I've joined Keller Williams, in the last week, I've put three buildings under contract.
Amen.
Thank
Congratulations.
you. And it's like the listings are coming, the different things, you
Yes.
feel that sense of shifting. And I think it's just so important to pick. I'm not saying everybody needs to be at Keller Williams, right? I'm not that person, but I can share my experience and put out there. So if you're in the Colorado area and you want to get in commercial real estate, call me. We've got the team, we've got the support, we've got the education, and I don't know, I just can't say enough about how important it is to surround yourself with the right people.
And I would have to agree that, like, to piggyback off of what you said, like, I didn't realize that there were even some brokerages that make you choose, that make you say, hi, either you have to do residential or commercial. And
Mhm.
if you're at a residential brokerage, they'll say, we don't know what to tell you. We don't have anyone that you can go to for commercial. And you'll either lose the client, lose the relationship. If you don't have referral partners, you're losing it all together. You're losing your chance of the deal. So I would have to agree to that. The
Yeah,
fact that Keller Williams offers KW commercial to us,
yeah,
and being able to be in those spaces and really feeds us and fuels us. KW commercial is led by two women.
Mhm.
So like
Yeah,
it's amazing to see
yes,
not only is the diversity there in
yes,
KW commercial, but the training, the opportunity is definitely there. So I would agree to that. Finding a place that aligns with not only where you are at the time that you're interviewing, but where you want to go with your
yes,
career is so important
yeah,
because a lot of people end up failing in this industry because they just didn't have the right people beside them and they
yes,
thought they couldn't and they could have. So
yes.
I would agree with that.
No, and I agree. For me, the thing that sealed the different deal for me is when I talked with Cynthia, and I was talking to her, and I'm like, she's got her CCIM. One of the other companies, which I will not name, the guy lives in a mountain town, mostly does residential, and he's overseeing all of commercial. Doesn't do any deals in Denver, doesn't do any deals in Colorado Springs, and I'm like, that doesn't make sense. And I went through the interview people, get to know what their values are, what they stand for, and talk to other people that have worked for these companies and understand what their experiences have been. Because I think that's one of the things that people get stuck on is like they just join the first company that will say yes. And
Right.
my experience in our market, the mentorship factor doesn't exist. It looks like, okay, here's this guy who's 70 years old. He's been in the business for 40 years. You run his
Wow.
errands, which I think is important to do, but they're trying to make a mini them out of
Yeah,
you. And I
exactly.
encourage people to make sure you show up as you because
Every
you'll attract the right people at the right time. I
yeah.
came out late in life. I came out at 40, and that
Wow.
was almost 6 years ago. And I lost everything. I lost my entire business portfolio except for 10 to 15%. And there's that fear of when you show up fully as yourself. And Colorado Springs is very conservative. And so then all of a sudden you're in this place, you've been in the market and you've got a respected name, but then you come out and you're brown and gay. It it affects everything. However, it's the
Yeah.
best decision I ever made because I started showing up in rooms as myself. Was it uncomfortable? Hell yes.
Oh my God. A
And
million times.
so find someone who will let you be you. And that's what I loved about Keller is that I was able to bring my branding and everything that I had built after coming out and after all these things. And they were like, yes, we want you like this. It's not about their name. And that is something that has been so like liberating for me. And even things like Rainbow Camp and the and seeing how Keller Williams has is so diverse and so inclusive, it was just amazing. And again, that's how you and I met. You were, and then for me to come into this, and I think you were talking about doing different events and things like open houses and things. I'm like, I'm in commercial. I don't freaking do open houses. Like in my market, you got to offer people $100 to even just show up. When I first started, you'd be like, all right, here's a bottle of wine, and people would show up. Not anymore. People don't want to do that in commercial.
Yeah.
But for me, it was like, okay, how about I go beyond what I was thinking? Let me listen to somebody who's in residential, who's in the Rainbow Network, and like the idea of hosting events. I'm like, wait, what? Like, you don't, that is not done here.
Yeah.
This, then it's like you grasp onto something that you haven't done, and maybe it's not exactly the same format as an open house or what residential brokers are doing, but what opened my eyes was how much I have still to learn.
Yeah.
And just because it's not being done doesn't mean that it shouldn't. So how do we change that and become more open? And I think you talk about your diverse client needs, right? My clients need to be appreciated. Why don't I host something for them? Like
Correct.
for them and their family, right? That does not happen here. And so that's something that I'm going to be working on for next year. And it was because sitting and listening to you on the panel and how much wisdom you brought, I'm really grateful for that.
Oh my gosh, thank you. I received that. And honestly, I do open houses in commercial.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't realize that. And that is where we're at in our industry. So our market is the total opposite, in
Mm.
which we're super saturated. Houston is huge. We're
Yeah.
expanding every day. And so you can walk down the street and bump into two commercial agents and 21 residential. It's not that hard to find us. Once again, it's hard to find skilled ones, but it's not that hard to find license holders. And
Mhm.
so I realized, especially in markets that are a little bit slower, we have to do the things that we don't want to do.
Yeah.
So we started doing things that were like hosting commercial classes at one of our commercial listings. Now
Mm.
we have brokerages coming that are looking at the spaces. They're also interested in commercial. What if they end up mentoring with us? And also,
Mm.
what if they bring a client? So all of these different ways to market the properties. Now my sellers are looking at me like, I've
Mm.
never met an agent that said anything like this. And I'm like,
Yeah.
of course you haven't. So
Right.
it's about being different and about daring to be bold in those spaces and doing the things that no one else is doing
Yeah.
because you, especially, it would make you stand out automatically because no one else in your market is doing it. No one else is thinking that deeply into it.
I'm taking notes. That's what I'm doing because it's genius. And I think, again, you get in the commercial, especially, I feel like you can get really stuck in this is the way that we do it.
Yeah.
And there's no creativity, and there needs to be that creativity. And that's what owners are looking for. I'm getting a listing that's 3.5 hours away from me. And this guy's, you called me back, number one, shocker. Um, and I talked to him almost a year ago about this project. And it's not in a major market, but he called me and he's like, I'm ready to liquidate this and sell it for less than half of what the other comps are. And I'm
Wow.
like, great. So now I can take this to my investor clients and be
Right.
like, this is way under market. All you have
Right.
to do is redevelop it a little bit. And it's a tiny little town that all of a sudden now there's $35 million of development happening. There's hotels. It's paying attention to the trends and what's
Yes.
going on. So if I can sell this to an investor, then guess what? I can also lease this for him.
Yeah.
And then they're going to remember, okay, this client was like, oh, so what do you do? I'm like, I do social media videos. We've got a podcast. We've got these things. And another listing that I'm getting next week, same thing. Someone just put a sign up. They've been in the business a long time. They're fantastic humans, but they're not taking those extra steps. And so for newbies that are looking about getting into commercial or even residential, draw inspiration from other people and translate that into who you are and how you feel like you can show up authentically. And
Yes.
in commercial, nobody does social media. They don't.
Oh my gosh, I'm so glad you said it. No one does it. And it's so crazy to me because 98% of my business is social media. So I literally sit on my phone on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok all day.
Yeah.
And that is how I lead generate. And I think it is because a lot of commercial is still very uppity,
Mhm.
very businessy and very like 9 to 5. Most
Yeah.
commercial agents don't work past 5. I'm like, if you can only see this property at 6:30, I will see you at 6:30 p.m.
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell you to fit into this 9 to 5 schedule. And that's where real estate is as a whole,
Mm.
is that it's not what it used to be. It's not a paper ad or just a sign in the yard and they'll call you and you're getting it sold. It's
Yes.
doing what no one else is doing. And also it builds brand recognition.
Yeah.
If you type in hashtag commercial agent in whatever city you're in, you don't see that many people posting, but someone's looking for that hashtag. They just
Yes.
haven't found anyone that
Yes.
was using it. So yeah.
Correct. And I think too, we're in a phase, I don't know if it's the same in Houston as it is here, where you've got a lot of your building owners and brokers who are at the end of their careers and at the end of this is an opportunity, right? Do something that sets yourself apart. And for
Yes.
me, and don't just do properties only. Like for me, I'm like, last night I decided to make from scratch pasta sauce. I love cooking. Let people know who you are, right? Let them into your life, and it humanizes the commercial real estate industry, which is very often just so blocked off.
Yes.
And I did, and honestly, after mega camp in San Antonio this year, I decided while I was there, I'm going to start doing more stories. I'm going to start doing a few more posts.
Yeah.
The week after I got home, I get a notification from Instagram that my engagement went up 350%.
Yes.
And I think what people don't realize is that social media is not the answer, it's a part of the equation. And you've got to stay in front of people.
Yes.
And you've got to educate people. And I did a Facebook reel just the other day, or an Instagram reel, and about this property, just a small little office space. I've worked on this property for this owner for 6, 7 years. Space finally came available after we filled it up. I just did a walkthrough and just talked about it. And I had 3 inquiries about that space. Now,
Yep.
don't expect that all the time. That's an
Right.
unrealistic
Right.
expectation, right? I think having the understanding that social media is not necessarily just for conversion, but it is for that brand recognition. You're putting yourself out there. And I have found in the last few months that as I put my energy that has been sluggish for the last 2.5 years and depressed, honestly,
Yeah.
and you start doing these things and you're realizing, oh, when I wake up in the morning, I'm not waking up to try to get a space leased. I'm waking up to help someone accomplish their dreams and their goals. And it
Yes.
changes into a more purposeful thing. And some people are shy of the camera. I hate it. I didn't want to start a podcast, but nobody else was doing it and business was not great. So I'm like, why don't I just try? And I found out from my podcast group that only 20% of podcasts go past 20 episodes. And
Wow.
we're now recording episode 27.
Amen.
So
Yes.
I just love how pushing ourselves and doing it in a way that is truly who we are, how it really can make a difference. Because that's what, if you're getting into commercial real estate, that should be your goal. I like what you said. It's about our contribution, not the commission.
Correct.
Nailed it.
Yes.
So I'm gonna start wrapping up, but where can people find you? And is there anything else that you would like to share before we call it a day?
Yes, you guys can find me pretty much everywhere. I'm on Facebook as Destiny Williams. You can find me on Instagram at Closing with Destiny, TikTok, The Realtor Diary. So yes, I have to second everything that you said. Like if you ever have a question or you just need that extra encouragement or pick me up or don't know where to start, people aren't responding to you, you can always reach out to me. I love being a voice. You don't have to be a woman, you don't have to be black. I'm always here for anyone that wants to get into this industry. Of course, people that want to begin investing or get into those spaces. But either way, if you're just curious about real estate, I'm always here to be that resource. I say I'm a resource, not just a realtor. And
Yes,
so if you ever need anything, I'm always here for that. And I just have to thank you again for having me in this
of
space. Like,
course.
it's amazing. You've encouraged me. I've literally been planning for about a little over a year to do a podcast. And I'll be honest, I've been so nervous about it. Like
Yeah,
to do a real estate podcast because I'm like, people aren't really doing this. Are people gonna listen?
yeah,
And I'm like, how can I be out here on my soapbox saying, just do it?
yeah,
And then I'm in my own head about something. And being in this space right now was my confirmation of you really need to go and do it. So
yeah.
you
And
so much.
I don't know much, but I'm here to help and send you some of the sources that have helped me.
Yeah,
Again, I think it's too like exactly what you're saying. And gosh, we could talk for hours.
I know, right?
But it's about the little things and taking that leap. Simple things like I tell my team, if somebody sends you a text that says thank you, you say you're welcome. You use
Yeah,
words like you just said, and I do this all the time with clients. Is if it's a new client, I'm not just trying to sell myself. I'm like, how can I be a resource to you?
right.
And finding the right language is super important. And that language helps you find your voice and how you do your job and your business and how you build it and help create wealth for yourself and other people. So it's just been such a joy to have you. And I know we're going to stay in touch for a long time. And yeah, just thank you for your time, your energy. And I know that this episode is going to help a lot of people. I don't
Yes,
know how many listeners we have. I don't look because again, it's not about the numbers, it's about doing the
right.
thing.
Absolutely. And I'll leave everybody with the thought too. When you're in real estate, just remember that our relationships go deeper than our clients. 88% of my business is agent to agent referrals. Talk to other realtors. Pick up the phone for other realtors. Be nice in a transaction with other realtors. You can negotiate like a monster and still be super nice. It's
Yes.
totally possible. And if you lean into building relationships with other people, it will take you so far, so far. So
Yes.
I love the relationship that we're building with each other. If I
Absolutely.
ever have anyone, then I will always send them to you.
I love it. Thank you. And the same for you. I say I haven't done this in a while on the podcast, but I was a guest on someone's podcast who asked me a question at the very end. And I just got out of the habit of doing it, but I feel like this is going to be very interesting. So if
Okay.
you're going out to dinner and you're in one
Uh-huh.
seat, there's three other seats. If there's anyone dead or alive, who do you want to be at that table?
Oh my God. Okay. Who do I want at the table? Wow. Who do I want at the table with me? Okay. I want Oprah at the table.
Yes.
On the younger side, I want Rihanna at the table.
All
She's
right.
amazing. I need her.
Yes.
And oh my gosh, who's my third person? Wow. Oh,
What of mine when I said it, was like Maya Angelou, without question.
absolutely. You know what? And I'm gonna put her in there because
Perfect.
she paved the way. So I definitely need her there. I need to pick her brain.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Destiny, thank you so much. And listeners, share this episode. This is
Yeah.
going to help so many people. Comment, share, do the thing, subscribe, and we will see you guys next time.
Yes.
If today's episode gave you valuable commercial real estate insights, subscribe, rate, and share it. Connect with me and the David Commercial Real Estate team through the show notes. Remember, real estate is more than buildings, it's about building community. See you next time.